look at the larger issue and spend a lot of time on this as to why these kinds of incidents of drunken driving keep on happening with absolute impunity and with complete disdain for the law. There are laws, there are regulations, there are committees, there are teams with budgets and funds allocated to look at road safety in its various aspects. But all of them are completely either ignored and non-functional. There is the basic problem why this happens is not just because people drink and drive, but because there is absolutely no fear. Will you be able to do this in Bangalore? We don't need to go abroad. Will you be able to do this in Bombay? Will you be able to do this in Chennai? You will not. But you do it in Goa because everything goes as far as Goa is concerned.
People will start to see two things. One is, of course, people know that road accidents are taking place, people are dying. But how the law treats,
right?
The accused and the victim.
Right.
Where is the attention? How much effort was made to console the families? Even go to their houses.
Right.
Not a single official has gone to their house.
Correct.
No Mamledar, no deputy collector. It is to go.
Correct.
You have lost 2 members from one family.
Correct.
I mean, it's heartbreaking to see. But then I think it shows the cracks in the system.
Right.
And I think it has come at a very opportune time. World Tourism Day is going to be celebrated on 27th September. There is this feeling that the new Gurgaon, the new Noida is unfolding in Goa, where the rich and famous will use these high-end vehicles, SUVs, kill at me. And you can see the fact that there are 4 challans raised, not a single challan paid.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is exposing the whole system.
Right.
And I think, therefore, the challenge before civil society is how do we deal with this part of it?
Right.
Of preventing. So, like when we started this whole discussion about don't drink and drive, many people are laughing. I think,
Right.
But you can see today, this kind of drinking is a different drink. The guy sits at the taverna in the pub and cycles back home.
Correct.
He is not the guy who's killing anybody.
Right.
This is a dangerous cocktail, wherein you take drink and you take high speed.
Right.
The combination of this is creating 2 new things. One is hit and run. Okay, this is partly hit and run because the guy fled.
Right.
So the hit and run thing has to come.
Right.
And the second thing is clear-cut drunken driving. And I think, therefore, the question is, what kind of investigation team has to be there? Can this anymore be left to a local police station? I think there has to be a specialized unit exclusively to deal with hit and run and drunken driving. There's no question. And this incident, I think, throws that question to the Home Department.
Right.
Are we going to create a special unit exclusively to deal with it?
Right.
Otherwise, we have no future because Goa is a tourism destination.
Right.
We are going to see 20, 30 more such cases in the coming season. 100%. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
I got my work which I show in every debates and all. Government is not just interested in all this what we tell. I got over 25 years of experience in road safety which I want to use to save lives of our people.
And the government doesn't involve people like you.
Government doesn't want us. Road safety is a mockery in Goa.
Right.
I told we have got clear-cut solution for all the problems.
Right.
They are not ready to discuss and come forward with that.
So tell me, in this particular case, or about other cases, what are the crucial aspects of road safety that are not being followed in relation to drunken driving or reckless driving?
See, first of all, now drunken driving, if I get a driving license with a lot of effort, of study, like in Dubai or other this, so many lessons and so many tests and spending. I will not just carelessly do drunken driving and surrender my license. License is a big thing for me. The way the licenses are given in Goa, there is Supreme Court writ petition 295 2012. No driving license ought to be given merely based on your vehicle maneuvering skills. You should know rules of the road. No rules of roads are being taught in the driving school, nor they are asked by the inspector. There is capping on how many driving licenses one inspector can give per this. That is not followed. It is a business for driving schools and for everybody. It is a business. Overall road safety is a business for everybody. And all this is all business for the people who do PWD work, the engineer. Now from Pharmagudi to Panjim, signages are put. They are not as per IRC 67. IRC 67 says there should not be cluster of signages. They are put like mushrooms, all wrong signages put in wrong place. Driver doesn't get the information prior to the signal. You don't get information. Tourists don't know which side they have to go. If that information is not given properly, so they change last minute. They change this. So you must have seen the signal is green, still you are stuck up. Why? Because somebody changed the lane and he was not informed that which lane he has to take. So such things we want to freely we want to guide government. Please take us on board. We don't want anything from you. You are getting a consultant from Bangalore and Delhi, paying them crores of rupees.
You have voluntary consultants here.
Yeah, we are ready to do this for free.
The point is, let me draw the discussion back on the fate of the victims and the fate of the victims who are still living, but we don't know whether they'll survive or not. Now the point is, what are we doing about these things? I mean, should there be a absolute drastic alteration of law or strict implementation of the law that already exists to see that when the victims pass away or die in such accidents, their families are completely protected, not only by the state, but there should be enough compensation extracted from the accused or people who kill to see to it that their lives get back in order. Yeah.
See, we have never tested the waters on the civil liability and criminal liability on people who do these things.
Right.
See, in the US, in the UK and other developed countries, law has moved much ahead. Now, we have to definitely start looking at the interventions that are possible.
Correct. That if in the Nirbhaya case, there could be such major legislation with regard to rape laws, my point is, why can't this be a turning point in bringing about an important legislation?
Yeah, but with in the Nirbhaya case, you look at the mass movement that has developed. And I think this is the turning point that is coming. That around this case, I see the hope in a movement which was like, tumi road safety karta mane kara tumi amka te laga na. This is going to change.
Do you agree? Is this a turning point?
No, it can be a turning point if every village, every city, every town in Goa, everybody starts getting to move out of their house. See, we have seen start of such kind of movements in the last 7-8 years. We have seen the spark sort of ignite with some of the movements. They have not transferred or ended up being major movements. Now, when you spoke about the Nirbhaya case, the kind of civil society movement that was there was pan-India.
Right.
In Goa, we don't see that movement. In the last 10 years, unfortunately, we have not seen a single. The only last movement, I mean, just one meeting which we had was with regard to Save Madhe. There is no other movement which has happened in the last 10 years which triggered a sentiment with everybody. See, for having such a movement, it has to trigger a sentiment within you. You should feel that this incident has happened in your house.
Right.
Problem is that today's and I know I will be I'll get some fire for saying this. Our generation today is interested only in seeing what is best for themselves.
Right.
And that is where the problem lies. I'll give you a simple example. When the cyclone hit and we were doing cleaning up work within my ward where I'm elected, I could see that the fathers, as in the older gentlemen within that vicinity, were out to help us, while their children were standing in the balcony pointing at, "Are Thayulla, Thayulla." See, it is a shame for me to expect that my father, who is 60-70 years old, should be doing that work while I stand inside directing him. But that sentiment is not there within our younger generation today to feel that they are part and parcel of this entire system, because we as parents are training them only to run towards earning money.
Correct.
And not having any morals. So,
and that is reflected even in this case.
It is reflected in this case. Now, why are these people with more money being protected while the victims are not being given any sympathy?
There should be first the deterrent effect has to come in. The first thing is, in such cases, the law should come and it should say that first you should be behind bar. It should be non-bailable offence. Now, now what we have 304A is a bailable offence.
So you're saying there should be a non-bailable offence?
It is, it is a bailable offence. Right. It should be a non-bailable offence. And again, a law should be that you are paid from your pocket. As my learned friend said just now, that who pays is ultimately is the insurance company,
Correct.
not from the pocket from of that person.
The person who was driving the killer car doesn't have to spend anything.
No.
Yes.
Now here also, that whatever the compensation is paid is by the insurance company and not individually.
And I'll just add to that, if at all he ends up paying, it will be hush money to keep the witnesses quiet and so that the cases are not pursued. It will not be as compensation.
That's under the table
It
money.
will be to pay to people so that they don't rake up these issues,
Right.
that it is closed and the case gets settled and closed.
Right. So ultimately, nothing of what we have discussed so far will be successful if there is basic humanity and sensitivity, which is shown and which is depicted, and the whole habit and the whole propensity to ensure that powerful people and rich people get undue and extracurricular protection from the law should be stopped immediately, because that is where the biggest challenge to this whole system is. Because when the system is for the powerful and not for the powerless, then nothing of what we are discussing will ever work. And I think that needs to change immediately before everything else and all the suggestions are ultimately meted out. The idea is that when you do infrastructure projects, why do these infrastructure projects have to be done in a manner that is so conflicting with the people when there are other alternatives available? That is the key point. The key point here is that when there are other alternatives available, why don't we look at them rather than get into an absolute face-off with the public in a manner where it always seems like a David versus Goliath fight, but we all know who won at the end.
The railways, government of Goa, see now, is look at this, how they are conniving with the central government. The government of Goa is, they issued a notification to the Goa Gazette to conduct a survey. Now, how do they conduct a survey? Sitting there, quasi offices, nobody has come down on the ground.
Yeah, so that's one part which is important. But I think we should also kind of focus on the other fact that the basic land acquisition for which they had sought objections and which they very cruelly dismissed. Now the process of that acquisition is also going on.
All those
I'm
objections,
talking about
those 26 objections in these areas, they all dismissed.
Correct.
The grounds being that some of them do not, these are environmental laws.
Exactly, correct. Yes.
So they say it is not under the purview of the Railway Act 1989.
No, my point is they issue a notice on the 1st of August.
Okay.
The notices arrive on the 26th of August.
Right.
And you're given 3 days.
Correct.
Now the point here is that they were told to come and literally surrender the land.
Exactly.
Which the people have outrightly refused. And these kind of refusals will happen in village after village.
Hopefully, yes.
So what happens after that? Because what happens is, technically they can turn around and say that you are disobeying or you are dismissing a government order by law.
Correct.
The people are completely right because they are emotionally charged and they feel they are being completely wronged and they are going to refuse. So what is the next step? What's going to happen? It's a direct clash now.
It is a direct clash.
Yeah.
The only option we have is to take the legal recourse.
Right.
There is no other option available.
But you all could have taken the legal recourse immediately. Why wait till the last moment to take the legal recourse?
We got a notice.
Notice just 3 or 4 days before.
Fair enough. That's absolutely correct. But the point here is that you all knew that this was coming.
No, this particular land is already under litigation. It is already admitted in the High Court.
The entire,
there is a case,
all the survey numbers, or you're talking about
only of these particular areas?
No, I'm saying the entire, all these 10 villages. Everything is under litigation.
No, see, most of the villages, unfortunately, did not approach the courts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was something which the villagers, certain areas, they were not convinced.
Right.
So when a bypass is available in the plans, the prevailing plans, which is regional plan 2021, government don't want to adopt to that solution, and government is neither willing to give a satisfactory answer as to why they don't want to go into that bypass provision which is available on record.
So what according to you is the reason for this?
They have to come back and tell us, see, in this bypass which is proposed, the larger track, that is survey number 18 and 19 is already in government's domain.
Right.
The
Right.
survey number clearly shows it is government of Goa which is holding this land.
Right.
So 30% of the land which is there in the proposed road is already government's land.
Right.
Subsequently, going ahead, there are some real estate speculators who have procured that land, which is
You're talking of the alternate bypass.
Yes.
Real estate people have procured that land.
Real estate
Okay.
people have procured that land.
Right.
In somewhere in 2021, under section 16B of TCP Act, government has also proposed to drop this bypass
Right.
for the benefit of the real estate people.
Right. Right. Okay.
So here the government is basically what they are trying to do.
Huh.
They are trying to ruin the locals for their cronies benefits.
This 30% of government land is which land? The
In the
current land?
bypass.
In the alternate bypass.
Yes.
Okay.
They need not acquire it now.
Right,
no,
right, right,
it is
right.
already government's land.
Right. So you're saying the alternate bypass is completely doable.
Exactly.
Right,
And
right.
it was proposed by an IITian, Mr. Parikar. By default, being an engineer, he was in a better position to give a solution to a
Correct.
problem. And this is a problem.
Right.
And government of the day is actually facing that problem because people are up in arms now.
I would like to highlight what land acquisition actually means under Land Acquisition Act 2013.
Right.
So, land acquisition is basically when the government is acquiring a particular land, a private land or a public land, for the sole reason of public benefit,
Right.
for public work.
Right.
However, in this case of double tracking, there is no public work that's concerned. It's a solely used for a private affair, for a private cause. And the Act specifically says the welfare of public is paramount, without which land acquisition cannot come into picture, because land acquisition is particularly done by the government for the public as a whole, of a public benefit. However, under the same Act, it particularly states that it forbids land acquisition where the land is a multi-crop irrigated area.
Okay. That's a
However,
very important point.
yes.
Yes.
And it forbids. The proper word under the Act says it forbids.
And there is evidence to show that multi-crops have been grown in these
Yes,
areas.
in places like Welsau, Kansauli, there are multi-crops grown,
Right.
and not on a private basis, on a larger scale. There are coconuts, as Orwell rightly pointed out. There are multiple crops that are grown, which the RBNL has not taken into consideration, and their sole purpose is only to get the land. And when we say acquire land, there is no certain measurement. When they were asked as to how much area is RBNL acquiring, there is no answer in specific. It looks like from the notices given, if today they are saying this particular area, I'm sure in the future they're going to acquire land beyond measures.
There was a very controversial amendment that was done.
Right.
I think it will also apply to the BOMA as
Boma
well.
issue. Yeah.
There was this Goa Legislative Diploma Amendment Bill 2023.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh.
And it has received the assent of the governor on 16th of June this year.
Okay.
This pertains to the Kumindad lands.
Okay.
Now, in our area, there are a lot of Kumindad land.
Right.
You know.
Right.
What it states is that the bill gives the government powers to suspend a Kumindad. Now, there could be some Kumindad, they might object to the
Right.
land being given. So it states the bill gives the government powers to suspend a Kumindad, body and appoint government officials to take charge of the Kumindad.
Yes. Yes.
Now you see how they are brazen they are in this. You see, because in our area, for example, in Majorda, they have objected. The Kumindad, the attorney, the president, they have objected, and the RVNL officials, they went to the tenants and they got cozy with the tenants. Let me put it that way, and they took over the land, and illegally they started construction at Majorda. Now, despite
This is the RVNL construction.
despite the Kumindad objecting, now when they are going to challenge, they will put this act.
This is Kumindad land on
Yeah,
which construction is started
exactly.
off.
So you see how they are how brazen they are.
माझे म्हणणे आसा ह्या विशयाचेर गव्हर्नमेंट कन्फ्यूज आसा. हांवें कितलेच फावटी तांकां चॅलेंज केली, म्हाज्या समोर या ग्राउंडार झगडोया. आय एम रेडी विथ देम. हांव तांकां ग्राउंडार झगडपाक रेडी आसा. कोणीय येवन माझ्या फुड्यान बसपाक रेडी आसा तेणी येवचे खरी डिबेटी घेवपाक कित्याक येयना ते कन्फ्यूज आसा तांकां कांयच खबर ना हितूंतली हे जे निवडून येयले ते 12 येयल्या आनी आयज घालता आसतना AI रिपोर्ट एक सांगता आनी तुमचे जे कर्म आसा ती वेगळी आसा आयज तुमचे कडेन तुमी म्हणटा कितें 4च घरां वयता आनी तुमी जे एक्विशन आयज करता पळय न्हू जे लोकांक बाबड्यांक खबर बसना एक्विशन म्हणल्यार कितें गेजेट म्हणल्यार कितें गेजेट म्हणल्यार आमचो मालकी जो हक्क आसा लोकांचो तो NHI कडेन वयतलो तो कोण दितलो आमकां आयज तूं म्हणटलो कितें हेजोच रोड काडटा तो तेजोच उरतलो फाल्यां आयज आमकां फटोवपा खातीर तूं धाकटो रोड काडटलो फाल्यां हेंची भुरगीं व्हडली जातली तेन्ना कोण झगडटलो कित्याक ही जी जागा आसा ही आमची ऑलरेडी तुमी तांकां विकली आसतली आनी जेन्ना सरकार जो आसता तो 5 वर्सां खातीर आसता तुमी आमकां आन्सर दिवपाक फाल्यां येतले जेन्ना NHI वयल्यान रोड करूंक येतले त्या टायमार आमी कोणाक उत्तर दिवचें तेजें उत्तर पयलीं आमकां मेळोंक जाय.
The point here is that all that the villagers there are looking for are tangible answers. They are also looking at one more thing. They are asking a simple question that the very highway that you opposed in 2010 is being proposed by you in 2023. Now between this opposition and proposition, what is the story? Swapnesh hinted at the possible reason. Sanjay also did the same. The answer here is that these allegations cannot remain as allegations. They need to be replied to. With regard to the double tracking, again, it is the same saga that continues where not only have you acquired land, but you are entering into buffer zones, you are entering into areas where multiple crops are growing, you are entering into areas and declaring it as a public purpose project when no public purpose seems to be achieved. And this is what has led to the current state of affairs. The point here is that if there are so many people who are antagonized, so many homes that are getting destroyed, so many brave people who are coming out onto the streets and fighting, people rejecting awards, then there must be something wrong in the basic system that is being applied to. When there are so many people up and about, people who are not even directly involved but have decided to pledge their lives and their time and their work to do this, there has to be some truth and some weightage given to the people view. The idea here is that if there is a government view and there is a people view, there needs to be reconciliation, there needs to be meeting of minds. You cannot have this conflict going on and on because it benefits nobody. Anyway, we will continue to raise these issues as we always do, and all one is asking the powers that be is to participate in conversations and give tangible answers. A little note or some lines from the Mahabharata which the honorable bench quoted right in the beginning of the 24th July judgment, and they actually quoted from an NTCA report on the status of tigers in 2022, and I'll read those translated lines, of course, from the Mahabharata. If there is no forest, then the tiger gets killed. If there is no tiger, then the forest gets destroyed. Hence, the tiger protects the forest and the forest guards the tiger. I think it is on this note that we should start this discussion, because that kind of underlines everything that is true, that is genuine, as opposed to the entirely fake narrative which has been fed to prevent the notification of the tiger reserve in Goa at all costs by people and by leaders who are mandated to protect the forests.
People and wildlife cannot be opposed to each other. That for people to survive, the wildlife has to survive also.
Right.
Because as the court said, if there is no tiger, there is no forest. If there is no forest, they didn't go further. How do we live if we do not have the green around us? What do we survive on? There will be no pollination, there will be the water resources will disappear, everything will go. So basically, I think the message that the court was giving very strongly is that human beings are dependent on nature. It may not be the other way around. Nature may not depend on our survival, but we definitely need nature around us in order to survive. And if we think that we can keep encroaching on our natural resources, on our forests, on our coastal areas, in all the areas which we have to protect and save, then we are spelling our own doom, and we have nobody else responsible for that collapse of society which could happen one day because of our mistakes and errors. I think this is the primary message, tigers apart, that the court is sending out, that look, you are part of the nature. As in fact the court, I don't know if it's in the judgment, but I remember the judge saying, I think it's in the judgment, that we make laws which favor us, but in the real world everybody is equal. The laws of nature
Yes,
don't
yes,
make
correct.
anything special for humans. We have got to survive.
I remember when in 2011 Dr. Gadgil committee was there in Goa for Western Ghat ecology expert committee panel. So during that time Dr. Cloud Alvarez requested me to present the tiger proposal, and the tiger proposal was presented before Dr. Gadgil. He asked me several questions and then I gave reply to him. Why, the tiger, from my childhood, I was when I was preparing for SSC, I remember I used to go for the sleep only when at 2:30 I got the call from the tiger. Now it is the time, because every night 2:30 I could hear the roar of the tiger in the jungle of the Molegat. So the tiger was just like the friend for me, and when I saw that the herbivorous animal like the sambars are killed in my village, I was realized that this will be the very pathetic situation, and then we presented the proposal to Governor of Goa, Lieutenant General Jacob,
yes.
and he shouted at me, who is telling you the tigers are there in Goa? Tigers are coming from Karnataka. Then I told him, tigers are there in Goa and I have the concrete evidence. Then he told the Keval Sharma, the forest secretary, you collect the evidences from him, within 1 week I want it. So immediately I gave him the concrete evidence of the presence of the tiger. The nail was presented to him. It was a crime, but when people once upon a time in Wagure, for example, where they were worshipping tiger as a god, and if you kill the tiger, there was a feeling that whole family will going to get the wrath of the tiger god. So
Yes.
no one was there to kill the tiger in that area, and now we have the example wherein the tigers are killed. So then Richard D'Souza, who was the conservator of the forest, he also supported what I was telling through the evidences which his team collected. And then on 31st of June 1999, the wildlife sanctuary became reality. So after that, every government, every politician, every MLA from my areas were struggling to denotify the area, and I realized that if this materializes, then our tiger, our wildlife will be threatened. And I always consider tiger as a unique, as a majestic. If you protect the tiger, then only the Mahadev will going to flow continuously. As per the NTCA guideline, Forest Department established the watchtower in Wageri. So when the work was going in the concealed manner,
Right.
no one was aware about it. So when it was completed, somebody, the villager informed the
Right.
politician, and he immediately started bombarding question on the officer,
Right.
not to complete. But in spite of his objection, the watchtower was completed. The anti-poaching squad, anti-poaching camp, they began to establish, and also posted some of the officials there.
Right.
But in spite of this, when the ministry was transferred,
Right.
afterward everything was stopped. So this was done purposefully, and you can see this year,
Right.
whatever forest fires
Right.
took place, the minister only said that this is the man-made.
Right. Right.
Got it,
Correct.
no?
Correct. Absolutely.
And then suddenly the government says no, there are also natural factor responsible. So all this indicates that they want to destroy the forest, they want to legalize the encroachment. They know that this encroachment, whatever done, you know, from 1999 till this date, even today you go in the jungle, you will find a fresh cutting. And in various newspaper, I have written the article about how the forest is destroyed. We released the video, got it, no? After our releasing of the video, the government took the action, and the officers were totally helpless. So they are not allowed to take the action, and right from 1999 to this date, you can see how many range forest officer of the Mahadai got transferred. They could not complete their term. Why this is happening only in Sattari Taluka, when the rest of the Goa, you can see one officer is posted dead, he remained at least for 3-year period.
But in Sattari?
Sattari, you just go in Kodal, in Maoli for example, office is there, and you can see the just board, take the photographs, and you will find how many times the officers are transferred.
There is no mention of consequences of not abiding by the law. You know, if NTPC is saying something and asking us something, and if we are not doing it, who is going to do what to us?
Right, right, correct, absolutely.
That feeling in my mind makes me to keep quiet. Let them do. They are doing their work, I will do my work. This is a simple thing. But those who are having some the will to do something, they do. Others don't do.
Does this brazenness surprise you, Nama? This absolute brazenness in...
You know, as the Goa Foundation, we have had a very, I will say, close relationship with the Forest Department in earlier times. I am talking 20-30 years ago. Milind Karkanis was there also as a forest officer, because forest officers were there to protect and defend the forest. This is my experience of 20-30 years ago. Today, I am not so sure, not because the forest officers are not committed, are not knowledgeable themselves, but somebody seems to be sitting on their heads. So it's become a question of what Milind is saying, if there are no consequences, why stick my neck out?
There is nothing to be saved as far as Mahadai is concerned.
Why do you say so?
Mahadai already diverted. Mahadai river is already diverted. Now save Mahadai, we will not give any a drop of Mahadai to Karnataka. It's useless, meaningless this is. They are already diverted. Already water has gone. To what extent it actually serves their purpose, God knows. But it is really doubtful, because the place from where it has been diverted doesn't have much source, much heavy source. Partly comes to us, but very small part, and other part, but that whole part itself is very small. So whatever goes to Karnataka, to that Malaprabha river, is very small quantity. So now who there is no scope to reverse it now.
Right.
Okay. So only advantage will be no. Now see, there are 18 tributaries of Mandavi. In that full basin. So they have plans to divert all of them. That they won't be able to do.
Very important point. Yes.
This is important.
Okay. The fact that if the right causes are fought for, we always have at least one pillar of democracy, which is the judiciary, and the other pillar of democracy, the responsible press, which will together take this fight. But ultimately, we must understand that these fights are won if there is a groundswell of people's support, which has been there in this particular case, and that gives us a lot of optimism as this fight goes on. But I think we must all bask in this victory, where not only our forests, but our tigers, but our future has been protected. And I think the generations that come after us will have to thank us and people like Norma and Claude for whatever they have done. Let us look into, given the nature of the experts we have on the table today, let us look, when we leave this room, look at two aspects. One is, let us try and figure out where the accountability lies, or the various points in which accountability lies, and how collectively we as a society can work towards very seriously looking at this as a major problem and working towards some kind of a solution. At the same time, analyzing the gaps that we already have in terms of rules not being either implemented or decisions not being done properly, or decisions taken by the government in terms of forming committees and others not working properly. I mean, there can be many reasons that will come up. But the idea is not to get into a blame game, but look specifically at solutions. And as I said just now, given the people who are on this table to discuss this very vital issue, we are indeed honored to have Buswe Silva, the SP Traffic of the Goa Police, one of the most senior-most officials in the force, who is there. Thank you, Buswe, for taking time. Next to him is Dr. Madhu. Of course, his full name is Madhu Godkirekar, but everybody knows him as Dr. Madhu, universally known as, of course, not just a very senior professional in forensics, but somebody who's spoken actively and articulately on many of these issues. And we thank him for being here. Roland Martins, the coordinator of Goa CAN, one of our regular guests, but again, he's been a foot soldier on many of these issues and sits on board of many committees to discuss this, and of course is one of the strongest voices on this subject. Prashant Naik, who's the president of MARG. Of course, Prashant is very well known otherwise as a social activist in his own right, but MARG as an organization has been in the forefront in highlighting this issue and crusading against something as serious as this. I'll start with Buswe. If I don't have a specific question, but I'd request you to respond to some of the points I made list.
About rise in accidents, it's more due to negligence, overconfidence of Goan drivers and riders. There may be other reasons also, but it's plainly speaking, it is overconfidence. Another thing is, in Goa, we have switched on from 2-lane to 4-lane, 6-lane, whatever. Goan drivers, they do not have lane discipline. The slow drivers or riders have to take the extreme left. Here you see, they take the right. You take the right only if you have to make a U-turn, or you turn the right towards the right, where there is a break in the median. In Goa, we see wherever there are medians, we've recommended around, I think, more than 6,000 or so recommendations have gone. Some have been complied with. There are breaks in the median at many places. There was an accident some months ago, one of the accidents during this current year, two-wheeler, rider was there, pillion rider was there. Without showing the indicator, he tried to cross from the left lane through a break in the median without giving any signal. The car which was coming was the Ignis. It had no other opportunity when he suddenly comes across. The pillion rider wasn't wearing a helmet. He too wasn't wearing a helmet. In Goa, we have a notion that helmets are only for police, to avoid police challans. People don't strap. Nowadays, we have started teaching people how to strap the helmets.
We are in 2023.
Yes.
The first global accident took in 1920. So we have experience of new Yamaraj,
right,
who has completed a century. Today I remember Marx founder Gurnath Kelekar sir. That time very few people have taken him seriously. Same gang, wherever we used to, they were there. And his mark of
his comment,
bullet. They started with something, mark culture. And in spite of 1 century, what Bosi was saying exactly, what is required is road culture. Latrines, we were not using it. That's why when we were using it, someone else was coming like this. Now we know that once we go inside, we have to flush and come. but that culture has not gone on the road. The person uses his best of the washroom, but same person when he comes with a car, he parks it very near to where he want to go for shoppings. He blocks everywhere, and he will be same person will be abusing everyone, right from the police to the functions like this, that it is all system is useless. It is very simple. The definition of accident itself is it is not intended to be. Otherwise, either suicide or murder. Avoiding, almost we are heading for the suicides. All of this 90% are almost suicides. They are not labeled because accident is going to happen.
Right.
But everybody feels it is not for me to happen, it will happen someone. And remember this, if your vehicle is having dent, another people says, that means you are really good drivers. And the rash driver never gets his dash because he cuts dashes and he goes, he never gets cuts.
Right.
But for him, someone else get dash and death.
Right.
So basically what is required is road culture.
I think what is important now is that the Supreme Court Road Safety Committee has given clear guidelines. One of the most important guidelines is that there should be a lead agency in the state of Goa. This lead agency is to act as an umbrella organization, having all the departments as joint stakeholders, and it is supposed to lead from the front in addressing all the issues that are there, so that these time frames and these targets of reducing fatalities by 50%.
But we do have a lead agency. You have a report from the
exactly.
agency,
So the point here is that everything is in place.
Right.
Okay. Whatever initiative we took, it took us time to convince various agencies that you need these committees. Committees have been formed. Everything is in place. Now the question is accountability, responsibility, and looking at all these statistics. I think it's a wake-up call. Where do we want to go? I mean, our indexes are going to get affected. We're calling ourselves as a world-famous tourist destination. Okay? The United Nations Road Safety Week begins from Monday. It's very clearly given there that if you are shifting your position in mobility, you are going in for, it has to be more for public transport, and it has to be the emphasis for walking and cycling. What is going to be therefore, the stance we are going to take.
Before I go to Prashant, just one more point. The question that I asked is that, we must also look at the manner in which licenses are being given. The whole system of touts and other people and middlemen and licenses being given to others. Then the role of the driving schools in this whole process. If you could just dwell a little bit of that.
So let me put it this way.
Yes.
All these things have been factored. The audit team has come. They have done a review of all the driving schools. Everything is in place. There are reports and all that. The question here is that when is the community going to take responsibility for all this?
That's right. Correct.
See, let's say I know a driving school is not fit.
Correct.
Yet I'm consciously sending my child to go to that
because the driving school is promising to give you a license, come what may.
No, whatever it is. My point is that, do I value my child? Is the first question. Now, last 1 month, if you see, there are learners' licenses being given at panchayats, at your doorstep. You see, camps are being held all over. Driving license at your doorstep. Now, what is a learner's license? Learner's license means what? You are supposed to have a person, experienced person as a pillion to guide you.
Right.
Is that going to really happen? So the point I think we need to look at is, the one way we are saying fatalities are going, yet we are bringing licenses to the doorstep. So tomorrow, if you say I should not get a license, I'll say why? You got, now you don't want me to get, so everybody wants. So I think the larger question here is that the licensing process, the kind of vehicles we are using, all this thing has to be discussed, but it has to become a community discussion.
Right.
Sujay, I'll come to the question which you have asked a little later.
Right.
Before that, I will address one of the questions you raised about licensing.
Right.
You know, now these driving schools, when you join a driving school, they tell you this much of amount for a license to be given to you.
Right.
That also includes a sizable amount to be given to the RTO.
Right.
Not as fees, but underhand deal.
Correct.
You may pass that test or not, but you get a license. So if you are going to get licenses this way, you are bound to meet with an accident. Right. The Supreme Court committee, this petition was filed in 2012 and 2017, somewhere this committee was constituted. Now the Supreme Court committee has given something around 24, 26 observations which are to be implemented. There are certain directives given. How many of them? They can be only on paper. See, the Supreme Court committee talks about identifying black spots. I will come up with a practical thing. Does the transport department doesn't know in Goa that there are black spots on the Goan roads? What happens to Kundai, which is a black spot? Every year you find 3-4 accidents. What happens to Karmalghat? Every year 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 accidents. What happens to Farmagudi? Every year 3, 4, 5, 6 accidents. What happens to Perne? Regularly one place only there are accidents taking place. What this committee is doing? You have big committees on paper, they are not functional. What is the district committee on transport is doing? Have they identified these are the directives to identify the black spots and act upon them. Now I will tell you, earlier in our Kankon, when you were traveling on that Parrikar, this bypass, your vehicle used to go like you are traveling on a trawler in a sea. Dapak, 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 dapak. It used to happen this way. Now I will tell you, you go with your car today and drive from Khandepar to Kurti. Just see the road condition. It will give you the same feeling of going on a trawler in the sea. It jumps like that. So where is our road engineering? Why the committees are being formed or why the directives are not being obeyed?
But one takeaway, that one underlying takeaway is that safety begins with us. And I think the community needs to see that and work together in all aspects. And also we need to kind of change the manner in which we look at transport. It is not just about driving the swankiest cars with the best features and showing off. At the end of the day, you have one of the most modern countries in the world that have embraced public transport and green transport like cycling in such a beautiful way. You have prime ministers and presidents cycling to work. So why can't we adapt a policy where that it is not a bad thing to do this. It doesn't make you small. It doesn't make you less popular in society. And on this note, let's at least pledge to make a beginning somewhere. Whether we are killing the golden goose, as it were, of tourism, the overwhelming feedback that we've been getting from people across, including many stakeholders, is that we are indeed in the process of killing this proverbial golden goose, if we have not killed it already. Some people obviously see hope and some space for resurrection, as it were. We use this word specifically during this period. And what we are asking is, can we resurrect Goa from the abyss that it has sunk into as far as tourism is concerned?
Yeah. Okay. As everyone's aware that now post-COVID, when Goa was the only destination, and for 3 years people could not travel internationally as much as they would have liked to. Now things have opened up, and with a lot of freebies thrown in, the visa on free visas for Indian travelers. So obviously there is it's easier to travel out, and a lot of people who've been traveling to Goa frequently for the last 3 years have sort of probably have had a boredom. There's been a Goa boredom that's set in, and they are looking at options of going abroad. Also, with 2 airports and the number of flights coming in have increased. Though the good thing is that most of the flights coming in are still packed, and the reasonable rates are a sort of blessing in boon, blessing for us hoteliers.
Yes.
So I think yes, closer to the date, I feel the rates will rationalize, but I think it's.
But as somebody who understands this very well, and you read straws in the wind, very nicely, don't you feel that this is a little strange? Because at the end of the day, anybody who'd be coming to go on the 31st would be doing his bookings now. He will not book on the 20th or 25th.
Yes, that's true. But we had actually seen it pre-COVID also, that the time frame for booking has reduced.
Right.
Earlier, people would book much in advance. They would plan much in advance. But now it's the time frame has come down to
Right.
sometimes 2-3 days ahead as well.
Okay.
For Christmas, New Year's, it is a worrying sign. But then this is something that we'd seen earlier also, and I'm personally not too worried about it.
Okay.
But
Sure.
I think Christmas weekend it's the next weekend, and it's already full. And New Year's also, we still have vacancy in Goa. There's still rooms available as I see across, but I'm sure
Right.
that'll also be busy.
If you go back in 90s,
Yeah.
you know, the shacks was different. The shack was a real Goan shade where you used to be, you know, like you could have that kind of relation, Goa shack, and the policies were very, very lenient. And they could just apply and pay some fees and you start your business.
Right.
But today, the shack has to go to so many administrative paperwork, so much of, its law, rules, regulation. And as a result, the shacks are becoming more like a commercial rather than it is becoming hospitality as a way of life. So
And there's no Goa feel in the shacks.
well,
That's what we hear.
the reason is because I tell you the fees are so much for the shack guys. There are so much rules and regulation restriction. So they need to get all these things back. So they have to increase their prices. They have it's like a modern shack. If you go to see every shack is like competitive. It's like a small, like a
Like a hotel or a
yeah,
restaurant,
exactly.
yes.
I mean, so they need to make up all these things. So they have lost that go and touch,
Yeah.
and it is becoming like how they can earn the money. Like example, they like 3.5 lakhs. They need to have to pay the fees
Right.
before you start. It's a
Right.
lot of money.
Right.
So how to recover that?
Right.
So they have gone into a commercial so that they will recover their money fast. And as you said, they started very late this time.
Right.
So it's become become a bad name for Goa.
Like any destination, Goa lived by a brand. And the brand is something that brings in tourism without effort, brings in the right tourism. We have changed that brand. And it's not the same brand as before, which was aspirational. I have a room in Goa for New Year's. I'm going to go there. And everybody wanted to come there because you were there and your friends would come. Goa's completely lost that flavor. People are not talking of Goa anymore as, oh, we got to be in Goa. Also, it's a lot to do with indecisiveness because with all this madness in the press about one music festival that's controlling the whole publicity of Goa on a daily basis, it's ridiculous. First of all, there are people who want to come here because of the music festival, and there are people who don't want to come here because of the music festival. When it's indecisiveness, you lose both. I mean, till 2 days back, you have a festival on the 31st. On 31st, now you say it's cancelled. It's ridiculous because you can't cancel someone's 31st planned night out of December at a week before, and they've bought air tickets. It's all created a mess for people.
No, but are you saying allowing that festival to happen on the 31st was right on the first place?
I think it was completely wrong. They should never apply for it. And I can't understand why the government,
Right.
for 15 years in a row, can't get the act together with a permission.
Right.
They can't get the act together with taxi problem. They can't get the act together with the sunburn permission. You are delaying the shacks licenses so much every year. It's shortening their time to earn money. So it's no more a happy vibe where you enjoy guests coming, you're serving them, you're giving them good value. Now it is, instead of 6 months, I got 4 months, I got 3 months, what do I earn in that? And you just try to, you just destroy the whole charm of what it's supposed to have been.
Correct.
And we don't have a plan. We have no plan. I came here in 92 where there were 7 flights a week from Sweden and Denmark and Norway. Today we only have international Russian tourists. We put a big article in the newspapers in the morning. A flight has landed from Kazakhstan. I mean, come on. There's so much more of the world where we've lost complete touch with. And that all made Goa an international flavor. As far as
No, but why have, okay, now you're flagging important issues, but what are the reasons for it? In the sense that why are we losing those tourists?
See, I think honestly we've lost the value.
Because anybody is free to enter, but in any time.
Right,
And
please,
it's a discussion.
I think we've lost value of that festive week monopoly we had for good quality tourism in Goa because we never looked after the golden goose. We cut it.
So we are in the space of experiential tourism.
Yes.
And what we saw as tourism is we had a very different take on tourism.
Right.
Tourism is a platform to showcase local talent.
Right.
Right. And that's the space that we saw that the difference that tourism could make. So in that sense, what we offer is authentic local experiences, trails and heritage walks that are led by passionate local storytellers.
Right.
Right. So that's what travelers are seeking for today. Today, the so-called luxuries of a fancy house or villa is one part. But more than that, when they're traveling to a destination, they're looking for authentic local experiences. Where they can try the food maybe in the natural settings in a home. Right. You get to experience traditional occupations. You
Right.
get to hear stories of the place. Like in the Latin Quarter, there's several people walking around. But when you do a heritage walk, you get to really connect intimately with that place.
That's right, correct.
And that's what travelers I see are looking for. Two, also travelers become more conscious, right? Their traveler behavior is changing. So they're looking at more sustainable initiatives, slow travel. So that's what we've been able to cater to. So people who come for these experiences know what they're getting into. So they're not going to ask for a North Goa sightseeing
Right, tour, correct.
Right, because
Right.
the branding, the positioning, the communication on our social media platforms or on our website is such.
Right, right.
It's a very simple thing. If somebody was, we talk about noise pollution.
Right.
If somebody was putting their sewage into your compound
Right.
or their diesel fumes into your house,
Right.
you would want to put a stop to it.
Right.
But if it happens daily and
Right.
it's not stopped, and you can't live or sleep because of it, you want to take some moves to stop that.
Right.
And this is the same with noise. Look, I enjoy music. I enjoy concerts. I like to go.
Right.
All I'm saying is please do it. But live in harmony with your neighbors.
Right.
Live in harmony with, there are old people living. There are students going to school the next day.
Correct.
You cannot have boom, boom, boom EDM music going into their house till 4 in the morning. That's all, I fight for. Coming to milking the golden goose. In Hindi, Sanskrit, there's a word called Matru Bhumi, which means we treat the land as our mother.
Right.
If you keep exploiting it and don't treat it with the respect it needs in all forms, it's going to come back and bite you really badly. And, going back to your thing about touch points, I remember when I would come to Goa in the early 90s, first of all, it had a very unique culture, different from the rest of India. It had something very special. Probably because it was international, it was had a Portuguese influence. The people of Goa were and continue to be lovely. There was music, there was dance. I would get down from the airport, and as soon as I drove in the taxi, there would be a smile on my face. Sometimes, you go to your hotel, you wake up in the morning, there's nice reggae wafting in the air.
Right.
You had this feeling that yes,
Right.
I'm in Goa. Today, if I tell any of my friends, would you like to come to Goa for a holiday? From that, earlier there was this sort of pleasant thing anytime. Yes, they're like, now it's become too busy, it's traffic, it's dirty, there's garbage. Well, there are a lot of negative points that have come to people's mind. And it starts at the airport for a taxi. It's a very simple thing. Anywhere in the world you go. It's not rocket science. Tourism needs few basic things.
Right.
You need good transport infrastructure, you need good restaurants, you need good food, you need good people like Maria showing nice tourism, etc. But getting to your hotel is a and you have this feeling that I'm being ripped off. And let's just assume you are living or staying in Candolim and you want to go to Asagaon for dinner. You will probably spend 3,000 rupees for a taxi.
Round
If you're
trip.
here for 4 nights,
Yeah.
that's about 12,000-13,000 rupees just to go for dinner. Whereas anywhere else in India, an Uber would be probably for that distance 200-250 rupees.
Correct.
So, from that point of view, there's a feeling that the mafia is taking advantage of me.
We see the taxis and the shack owners are the major contributors, but we never take them on board.
Right.
I think we should take them on board, talk to them. Things have changed. Things have changed. The taxi drivers, it's because they've been isolated. We cannot force on somebody because I think bringing everybody on board and focusing on family tourism.
Right. Okay.
We have lost that. I think government, family tourism and come heavily on this while bringing the bad image, the clubs, like prostitution. This has to be stopped.
And ultimately, the government also has to know and understand that it is not just about getting greater footfalls or improving the economy and getting more tourists and having more infrastructure. All that is fine. But the love and the feeling that people had in coming to Goa and enjoying themselves, that needs to be brought back before you bring in any of the big bucks. Because when you have empty rooms and you have people not enjoying themselves on the street, then Goa does not remain and retain itself as a lovely place to come to. And I think that's very, very important. And most importantly, stakeholders in government must sit across the table and reset the entire plan with practicality, with conviction, and a lot of honesty. I thank all the panelists for their inputs and their in-depth analysis and incisiveness in making this whole topic and discussion come alive.